Good morning, Durbanites. Our topic today is mental fitness. An unusual phrasing. Usually we talk about physical fitness. And even physical fitness, when do we start prioritizing? Usually as we age and our youth can no longer accommodate, digest some of our lifestyle. We have seen recently the Olympics. How many of you watch the Olympics? And we get inspired, we see the Olympics, and you see on Instagram, people start practicing gymnastics moves. Suddenly we start running a little faster in our routine. And when we look at the Olympians, we see physical perfection. So much of dedication, and that's why it's inspiring, so much discipline. But we don't draw back the curtain and see what's going on behind the scenes. There's a documentary, it's called The Weight of Gold, and it talks about Olympians, athletes, elite athletes, and the mental stress that they go through. Not only on the build-up to the Olympics. They say during the Olympics, they don't sleep because you have been practicing and training for 4 years for 10 seconds, a minute. So they don't sleep, they're so nervous. And that's not because the accommodation didn't have air conditioning. Nervousness, tension, stress. And then you look at the interviews of great athletes like Michael Phelps, the swimmer, Simone Biles, and they talk about the post-Olympic slump. You've achieved what you needed to achieve, or if you didn't, you got a silver, you got a bronze, or you just missed it. The disappointment, but the lack of purpose that comes afterwards, the depression. Now I want us to look at our lives and say, hang on. We may not be elite athletes, but have we got mental fitness? And what are the measures? Because we have different measures for the body. I'm sure many of you do blood tests, you get it checked. We look at the scale. Sometimes we torture the scale every few hours, hoping for a different result. A few minutes later, same. I just ate a protein bar, same weight. We have the occasion to go to some of these beautiful wellness resorts. And we go there because we're invited as faculty to talk about mental fitness. So a lot of people come for detox, weight loss, and they would go through all these programs, Ayurveda, massages, etc. And throughout the day, they're weighing themselves. And at the end of the day, they look, they've lost 300 grams. And to celebrate, 1 cup of red wine, put all the calories back on. Rinse, repeat. Physical fitness we're aware of. All the time we look in the mirror. And in the mirror we check, can we see ourselves? How do we look? Is the hair in place? Those with less hair, much easier to check if it's in place. I have a colleague. It's very entertaining to walk behind them because it is impossible for them to walk past a reflecting surface without having a look in it. So they'll be walking and there will be a parked car and they'll just stop to the side. They'll have a look in the side mirror. Everything okay? Okay, fine. Even as they're walking, if there's a puddle, they'll look in the puddle. So physical fitness, we have an idea of. But what is mental fitness? And to give you an idea of how important mental fitness is, I'm going to give you a few metrics. And you can see which areas we need to improve on. And at the end of the session, we're going to summarize. There are going to be 7 steps to focusing on getting mentally fit. If you have a look at this diagram where we have the 3 different aspects of the personality. Let's see which one we can improve on. The first is the physical aspect. So even at the physical aspect, you may be slim and trim, muscular even. But here's the question I'd like to ask you. What kind of energy do you have when you wake up? Are you ready for the day? I say, oh yes, come on. Thank goodness it's Monday. Or is it, uh-oh, not Monday? How do you feel when you wake up? Or do you need, in India, the master of the house will shout, hoping somebody will hear, they'll say, chai. Chai means tea. And for some people here, it might be first espresso, second espresso, third espresso, good morning. How much energy do you have? And at the end of the day, do you have energy still? Or are you collapsing? And we say phrases like, I'm dog tired. The dog is fine. Dog has energy. Why are we giving the dog a bad reputation? But ourselves. What is our vitality, our immunity? How easily do we get the flu? Do we get the cold? What is our immunity? The mental equates into the physical. And at the mental, emotional level as well, let us ask ourselves, what kind of fluctuation do we get at the emotional level? What that means is, sometimes we're riding high. Emotions are going well. You're smiling, everything's going beautifully, but by the afternoon, miserable. Evening, don't talk to me, don't come near me, don't look at me. That roller coaster of emotion, that fluctuation is fitness at the mental level. The other aspect is, if you look at our relationships, there are only a few relationships we really have to take care of. Those people in our immediate vicinity, in the sense, those that we are interacting with regularly. What is the quality of your relationship? With your partner, with your children, with your parents, with your colleagues, with the staff at home. What is the quality of the relationship? And are we putting in any effort to improve that quality? Relationships. The last one is at the intellectual level. And again, it comes down to mental fitness. How long does it take you to make a decision? Sir, you're placing an order. Sir, what would you like to have? Would you like to have your sandwich with brown bread or white bread? And the person is paralyzed. Hold on. My dietitian said, I watched this on Instagram, how many calories in white bread, but white bread is tastier, brown bread, so many calories, and you're looking at it, oh, I read an article about alumni, and you're going through all these different options in your head. Waiter's waiting. How long does it take you to make a decision? Are you clear? I give this example because it's true. We have been trained by going to the academy to think clearly. So, Avanya and myself, we both did the course together, and just before Avanya was about to return home, I thought this is a viable option for marriage. I did an analysis. The analysis took 45 minutes. Pen and paper. What do I want in life? Do I need marriage for it? If I need marriage, what do I need in marriage? For marriage, what kind of partner do I need? Does this person that I have in mind have the qualities that I'm looking for? Also, and I would need subsequent conversations for this, what that partner is looking for in marriage, am I able to provide? Did the analysis, pros and cons. I'm not going to tell you the cons. Did the analysis, this looks like a good option. We had a conversation. 18 years down the line, here we are. But the idea is, how long did it take? And if you have clarity about what you want, decisions become easier. If you don't have clarity, everything is dilemma. And we say we are thinking, and some people are saying, I've been thinking about getting married for 7 years. How much more data do you need? We need to start prioritizing inner wellness. When you are well inside, it shows on the body. When you are stressed and agitated, you find the skin starts reacting. Hair starts going. Breathing becomes shallower. Heart starts beating faster. These are signs of stress. How would you define stress, anyone? Feel free to shout out. What is stress? Or what is the measure of stress? Pain, yes. Anxiety, excellent. Indecisive, yes. Sorry? Pressure. If you look at these, pressure, anxiety, pain, one word for all of it is agitation. How agitated am I? And agitation to the mind is what pain is to the body. It means, look, something is wrong. Fix me. Just as if you don't normally say, let me go to the dentist. But if you have an awareness, or if it's worse, a pain, you say, look, I need to make an appointment for the dentist. You go to the dentist, get it checked out. But we don't do that for the mind. When we experience agitation, we've become so used to it, we just say, that's part of life. It's part of work. It's part of married life. We've accepted. Person goes to the mother, Mom, I'm not getting on. Oh, that's normal. All of us don't get on. How have we accepted that? Something is wrong. Fix it. And this is what we want to start doing. Start improving the quality of our sleep. Start reducing the agitation. If we could have an agitation monitor. You know, they have the heart monitors, the echo. So it shows you your heart rate, and if your heart rate goes really high, fast, the pressure, you see it, right? What we want to do is bring that agitation monitor down. So at the moment, it's really up and down, all right? And then you turn on your tap in the morning, there's no water. It goes really high, going up and down, up and down. What we want to do is we want to start bringing that wave, that up and down, less and less and less fluctuation, less agitation, until flatline. Flatline does not mean dead. It means complete peace of mind, calm. Whatever you're doing, peace. So we're going to talk about 7 steps. And in order to talk about these 7 steps, we need to know the fundamental of what mental fitness is. Has anyone heard of BMI? What does it stand for? Body mass index. Wrong one. Body, mind, and intellect. In fact, if you just take this acronym away with you, the session has been productive. Now, there's an acronym, another one that you might know. I know there's some doctors in the audience. Have you heard of ICU? You know what is ICU? What does it stand for? I've been in India a long time. It might be different here now. What does ICU stand for? Intensive? No. Intensive care unit? No. ICU is, I see you, you don't see me. So this BMI that we want to grasp today is the crux of how we make decisions, how we manage our mental fitness. The body, I'm sure some of you can give me a lecture on how to take care of the body. It is our vehicle, it's our equipment. It moves us from experience to experience. But what we're interested in is who's driving the body? Who's making the decisions? Who's deciding what you eat? Who's deciding what you say, what you think, what you choose? And there are two drivers in your body, two CEOs, constantly talking to each other, whether we know it or not. After this session, we'll be able to articulate who's saying what. One part of our thought force is called the mind. Some people say it's the heart. We're going to use the term mind. And the mind is that part of you which has got the feelings, happiness, sorrow, joy, jealousy, envy, excitement. That's the mind. It's got likes and dislikes. If I ask you, what's your favorite color? You might say red, blue, green. Why? I just like it. That's the mind. Impulses, attachments. The intellect, on the other hand, is different. It's different because whereas the mind's medium is to feel, to emote, to not think and analyze, the intellect is that part of us which is designed to analyze, decide. So the intellect thinks, reasons, judges, and decides. And these two are making all the decisions in our personality, either with emotion or reason or a combination of the two. Now I'm going to give you an example. I'm sure there may be some diabetics in the crowd. Imagine a diabetic that has a sweet tooth. And to this diabetic, we offer some very fine chocolate from Switzerland. If any of you are going past Geneva or Zurich, don't go for Lindt, Laderack. Very nice Swiss chocolate. And supposedly, maybe I've just come down from Switzerland to Durban, and I present the diabetic, because I'm a mischievous person, I present the Laderack chocolate to the diabetic. What does the diabetic's mind say? I like chocolate. I feel for chocolate. In fact, I'm craving for chocolate right now. Mind says, eat it. Intellect? Not a good idea. Remember what happened last time? You had to go get the injection. Not a good idea. But the intellect could also say, you have been very disciplined this week. Your sugar is low, and that is very good chocolate. It's okay, go ahead. So the intellect and the mind can agree. The intellect is not a killjoy, it's just there to ensure that you don't have regrets later. But this is where humanity gets interesting. What happens if your mind says, eat that chocolate, intellect says, not even a bite, not worth it. You're going to regret it, you're going to feel terrible afterwards, don't have it. What will the diabetic do? This is where the stress is. What will the diabetic do? It depends. And it depends on who's stronger in the personality. Now, we're telling maybe somebody in our family, stop eating chocolate. Their mind is saying, I love chocolate. And if the intellect is not strong enough to control the mind, the diabetic's going to eat the chocolate. If the intellect is stronger, it says, no thank you, but I'll take the chocolate, give it to my child. The problem comes when the mind is stronger than the intellect. Because even though you know you shouldn't do something, even though you know you're going to regret it, the diabetic eats the chocolate, suffers the consequences. We claim to want to be free, liberation, but we are not free because we are victims of our own mind. We all want to be a little bit fitter. Wake up in the morning, exercise. We set the alarm clock maybe for 5 a.m. Winter morning in Durban. Some people summer. When Durban people come to the academy in winter, this is in India, it's not even in Europe, some people wearing balaclavas. I said, this is not the Arctic. Gloves. For what? 10 degrees. We all know what we would like to do. Are we able to follow through? And that's dependent on whether the intellect's stronger than the mind. So you set the alarm for 5 o'clock, but at 5 a.m. when the alarm clock rings, the mind says, you know, the doctor said sleep is good. Very good to rejuvenate. The time to decide that was the previous evening. Having planned, decided, we're not able to follow through on our plans. Why? Mind strong, intellect is weak. Forget about this diabetic. Our family, sometimes they have the skill, the art of knowing exactly how to irritate us. They know the weakness, the pressure point, where to poke. And they'll just make a comment. You didn't fill fuel. You wouldn't have filled fuel. Is that a question? What are you asking? You wouldn't have filled fuel, right? And you know that there's something behind it. How do you react? Mind, you never filled fuel last week. And it becomes an argument. Or intellect, hang on, can I handle the situation differently? So we need to start developing this intellect to live the life that we want. It's not that we neglect the mind, because the mind's got the emotions. But we don't allow the emotions to take over when we're making a decision. Do you remember the World Cup final? I think it was France versus Italy. Some time ago, Zinedine Zidane. I think it was extra time. Zinedine Zidane, captain of France, and one of the Italian players provoked him. Mind went off the chart. Intellect was gone. And does anyone remember how he reacted? He used his head, not the intellect. He head-butted the other player, sent off. Wasn't there for the penalties. France lost, he retired. If you go to some of the towns in France, Zinedine Zidane, if you ask how many goals has he scored, how many appearances, people say, the guy who headbutted. And they have a statue of him. You know, like how they have of these great artistic statues. They have a statue of him headbutting the other player. One moment, an entire career labeled on that moment. Emotion takes over, can destroy you. You can use that same emotion and say, come on, let's do better, let's fuel it. But the job of using the emotion, directing the emotion, is the intellect. Now we're going to start and get on to how do we put this mind and intellect into practice every day. First question. How does the intellect decide whether you should do something or shouldn't do something? Whether something is good or not so good? Information? Mm-hmm. Sorry? Reason, yes. But how does it reason? What is its reference point? Someone invites you for a weekend, said, let's go to Sun City. They say, no reason required, let's go. No, I'm saying, what is the basis that you decide yes or you decide no? What the wife says. It's actually a very efficient mode of thinking. Why all the argument? One person said the opposite. He says, how do you decide what to do? Whatever my wife says, I do the opposite. It depends on what are your roles, what are your goals. Whether to do something or not depends on you. But if I was to go around the room, which would probably take a week, and ask each of you, what is your role? What is your goal? What do you want in life? Can we say that in a line? Can we say, this is what I want? If you know what you want, decisions become clear. You know what is right, what is wrong. What is your role as a daughter, as a sister, as a brother? You decide. Not society, not the other person. As parents get older, they start telling the children, the reason why I had you was to take me to doctor's appointments. So where is the contract? All this unwritten expectation. What is your role? What is your goal? I decide. As a daughter-in-law, as a sister-in-law, as a brother, what have I decided to do? If I'm going to be a brother, this is the way I'm going to be a brother. According to me, my role, my goal. But when we set a goal, there are two important aspects to get this energy, to get this fitness. And the first is, when we choose a profession or a career. Now, those students going through grade 9, they have to choose their subjects. And those in matric have to choose which degree they're going to study. Most people will choose according to parents, finance. They'll see there's a shortage of engineers, let's do engineering. But the real factor to choose on, is it based on your nature? And we're going to learn a Sanskrit word. And why I'm teaching you the Sanskrit word is, so when you go home, you can show off. So your family says, you know, where did you go in the morning? So I went for mental fitness. What did you learn? Swadharma. So what? Swadharma is one's own nature. Swa means one's own, dharma means nature. What is your nature? What is your tendencies? What is your inclination, your talent? What do you enjoy? You know, some hobbies, some subjects in school, you find the time goes so quickly. Other subjects, every few minutes you're looking at your watch, picking up the phone. Why? You're not engaged because it's not your nature. Similarly, for those of you who have a philosophical nature, this lecture will fly by. For those of you who have been brought here by your partner, feeling hungry. Where are we going for lunch? The time is passing too slowly. Why? It depends on your nature. When we are advising our children or even ourselves, when we pick a career, choose work according to your swadharma. The opposite of that is called paradharma. Paradharma means alien nature. It means a person who's designed to be an artist being in accounting. A person who's designed for accounting being in medicine. I remember growing up, I went to school in DHS, and the Indian community, they had streamlined. If you're an Indian student, biology, to become a doctor. If that doesn't work, accounting, to go the CA route. If you don't do either, failure. Simple. 3 options you had. What if the child is talented at drama? Talented at sport? Where is that opportunity? Where is that encouragement? Now, why that's important to choose something in line with your nature is because of how you feel when you're at work. You look forward to it. You get challenged. Otherwise, the time is passing too slowly. And if you think you're going to spend 60% of your adult life, if you don't enjoy what you do, or if you're doing it just to pay bills, what a torturous life. Albert Schweitzer, he puts it beautifully. He says, and this is our thinking as parents or how we've been conditioned, success is not the key to happiness. So we think, go after a lucrative profession, make money, and then what? Be happy. Go and find those retired people and ask them if they're happy. It's the other way around. Happiness is the key to success. If you love what you are doing, you will be successful. Mark Twain, he says something similar. Find a job that you enjoy doing, and you will never have to work a day in your life. The Vedanta Academy, we'll show you a short video later. It opened in 1988. It runs a 3-year residential program for youths between the ages of 18 and 30 to come and do a structured course in life. And the place has not been closed for a single day since 1988. No holiday, no weekend, no vacation. They're going to lectures every day, they're following the schedule, and you might say that is against human rights. How are you not giving them a break? Because they don't need the break. Imagine if what you do is what you choose to do, is what you enjoy doing. How many of you play golf on the weekends? So few. How many golfers here? This is a very educated audience. The golfers are playing golf. If you play a sport, you go and you play the sport. It could be tennis or football. You get tired, you put in effort, but you find yourself refreshed, recreated. Why don't we do that with work? Change our approach to work so that we enjoy what we do. Avani and myself, we do these lectures throughout the world. So right now we're on a tour. We spend about 7 months of the year traveling, and then we have duties in India. We've not taken a day off for the last 18 years, 20 years. Although if you look at our itinerary, you might think, look, this looks like a holiday destination. Aruba, Mauritius, Brazil. But the idea is, enjoy what you do. Then you don't feel it. You feel refreshed. You feel energized. So number one, Swadharma. The second aspect is, and this is important, what is the reason you do what you do? So having chosen the right field, let us change the focus that instead of it being for personal benefit, let it be for something larger. For those of you who are owners or you have your own business, the people coming to work for you, why do they work for you? Pay bills, get the salary. Are they really interested in the work? Maybe not so much. If you were to tell them, look, this month you can get the salary without work, what do you think they will do? How do we change the interest to work? And it's a very simple switch. You don't have to go and start doing charity. All you have to do is just change the mindset. What am I working for? So if you're a doctor, when we look at a patient coming in, we think, great, lunch covered. Holiday, getting closer. Instead, if we look at that, when the patient comes in, how can I treat this patient so the patient never has to come and see me again? Not because you lose the patient, but because you're so good at what you do. How can we benefit? Similarly, with a client, with a person buying from us, how can we take care of the person buying from us so that they're so happy with what they're receiving from us? And just that switch makes all the difference. As a teacher, are we thinking about the student? As a spouse, are we thinking about the other spouse? Change the attitude. And how far can we stretch? Depending on how far you can stretch, that's the energy that you can get. If we look at this circles of identification, the small circle is when you work for yourself. Stretch a bit. You find those who work for family, they have more energy. Immigrants that come to a country, first generation, second generation, how hard they work. Beyond the family community, we see certain communities that work together, how well they are doing throughout the world. In India, we have the Parsi community. They were refugees. They came to India seeking asylum. They received it. And today, they are the business leaders of India. Why? Because they take care of each other. Beyond the community, country. We are all South African. When? When we're playing the All Blacks. That's the beauty about sport. When we're playing sport or the Olympics, then suddenly we're all South African. Otherwise, when there's no sport, no Olympics, I don't know you. Say, hello, brother. I'm not your brother. Hi, uncle. I'm not your uncle. Go and check. Where is that warmth, that familiarity? And if you find if it's not here, emigrate. Then suddenly you hear a person with a South African accent. How's it, Buti? You don't even talk like that here. Go to London and then suddenly there's a familiarity. Stretch, widen your circle, there's an initiative. And if you can stretch, depends how far you can, why not all human beings? Everyone has feelings, emotions. When we look at another person, and it could be the person that we're driving past, the security guard, the car guard, just the thought, this person may have children, may have health problems, is probably also insecure about their future. They also have water and electricity issues. Just that thought brings about a connection. That acknowledgement. What? I see you. And sometimes we don't even see the people closest to us. Why? We may not even see our partner, we may not even see our children. When I say see them as human beings. And it's not because we are selfish, another word for it. It's not as negative as selfishness, we're just self-absorbed. We're so caught up in our own world and problems and what's going on with us, we don't really put in the application to see. So the first one, our roles and goals. Our goals should be connected to our nature, swa, dharma. Second, let us try and work for a bigger circle. That's when we get the initiative. The second is, now that we've got our goal, how do we allocate our time? The problem with the mind is, it never wants to be in the present. It's constantly moving, it's fidgety. Like if you were to bring a young child here, the child is restless, it looks at the back, is looking around, and then one of you who's looking for relief from the lecture meets the gaze of the child. And the child is waving at you, and I'm watching all this. Why? Because there's restlessness because of the mind. We need an intellect to keep the mind on the present. And the trouble is, that anxiety, where is the anxiety coming from? It's coming from thinking about what's going to happen in the future. Regret is from what's happened in the past. But the past and the future do not serve you. They distract you from life, they distract you from living, which is in the present. If you're not in the present, you're missing out on life. Because the future is not real until it comes to you. The past is already dead. Why are you bringing it up and regurgitating it? Does the past have value? Does thinking about the future have value? Yes. We can learn from the past. So if any of you have had a difficult past, maybe a tough relationship, a traumatic event, bring that to the surface. So instead of it visiting you when you don't want to think about it, you bring it up. What is there to learn from this experience? What healing, what improvement is necessary? And then having dealt with it, close it. It might still come up. Gently with your intellect, close it. Say, we've dealt with you. There's no need for you to come up again. It's closed. What about the future? The future, yes. When you are planning, make planning a present event. What that means is, if I'm going to plan for the next year, 2025, let me make some time for it. So tomorrow, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., I'm going to plan the year. It might need a few sessions, but I'm going to think about the future at that time. So planning becomes a present event, not a future event. Because if you're in the present, like now, you're in the lecture, or even me, if I'm in the lecture now, talking to you, where should my mind be? Here. If I'm thinking about the next lecture tomorrow, I won't do justice here. And then when I go there, I'm thinking about, I wonder how White Box went. Be in the present. And one useful thing to help us be in the present is schedule your day. Schedule your day from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep. Schedule it, because then at least your intellect can tell your mind, this is where you need to be. So when the mind starts going somewhere else, you bring it back, say, look, mind, this is where we've chosen to be. But one suggestion is, when you're scheduling, schedule rest. Why is rest important?
We have a car that is blocking one of the residents next door. If the owner of KM86 MXGP, it's a Suzuki, if they could move the car.
Okay, can you repeat?
KM86 MXGP, it's a Suzuki.
So the idea was, we need a rest. So much lecture. Announcement, thank you, Avanya. Very timely. The rest refreshes us. And the rest gives us longevity. So we understand that with the body. If you're going to run all the time, you need a break in order to run further. If you continue running, the body is going to break. But we don't realize that with the mind, we don't realize that with the intellect. The mind has a capacity. Suppose you've had a very emotional conversation with a friend, with a colleague, someone has passed away, you're talking to them, you've had a very emotional conversation. How do you feel afterwards? Drained, exhausted, because the mind has a capacity like the body. We talk with a lot of health workers, nurses, carers, so they're giving a lot of emotion and they're exhausted by the end of the day because they don't understand they have to replenish emotion. What about intellect? How long can you concentrate for? This is what we don't realize. Actually, not very long. And sometimes you have classes in school, 1 hour, 1.5 hours, double period. How can any human being concentrate for that long? It needs a break. It needs, even if it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, to refresh. And that is why during COVID, you remember when everybody was online and we had back-to-back Zoom sessions, there was so much of burnout during COVID because there were no breaks. You would go straight from one meeting into the next meeting. But on-campus, in-office events, between meetings, what are you doing? You're going to the coffee dispenser, you're having a chat about the game yesterday, what happened, we walloped the wallabies, and you're talking, you're giving material, you're having a break. We weren't doing that. So we might have to create our breaks, the importance of rest, when we're scheduling. When you go home after work, how do you feel normally? Don't say energized. Okay, ideally, yes, we'd like to get there. We feel tired. Now you're going tired, depleted to your family who's been waiting to interact with you, a partner who's not seen you, but you're going with no capacity. So when you get home, we're irritable. We don't want to engage. Suppose just before you go into the house, you could be in the car, in the garage, or if you have space to walk outside, just 10 minutes before you go into the house, refresh, give yourself a pep talk. Okay, prepare myself for the children. Okay, here we go. Take a deep breath. Enter. All the difference. Be in the present, number 2. The third part of it is, okay, we've got our goal, we've got our plan, we're executing it, we're trying to be in the present to give it quality. The next is, what is the environment that we are putting in to support our goal? So your effort is what's important. But what's the supporting factor? It's like the seed is what will give you the result. But the soil is just as important. What this means is, for your goal, look at the things around you. Is it supporting your goal or taking away from your goal? Do your family and friends support what you're doing or taking away? Does the music that you're listening to, does it make you energized or take you away? Does the food that you're eating, positive or negative according to your goal? Another word we can take away with us today is called Sat Sang. Sat literally means truth. Sang means company. We want to choose Sat Sang. That means company aligned to our truth. Company that takes you higher. You find those who are super achievers, find out who their company is. They choose to be with people more intelligent than them. Now, some people feel insecure about that. But those who want to achieve, want to learn, they surround themselves with people that they can learn from. Now, you might say, I have no choice in this. People land up in my house. People come and take my time. Why are you making it available? You decide, you design your satsang. William Shakespeare, he says, tell me thy company, and I'll tell thee who thou art. Means, tell me who your friends are, and I'll tell you who you are. Because that is a symbol, a reflection of your values. Design your company. Now that we've got all of this in place, we're going to go a little deeper into the philosophy. And the next one is, everything's going well. We've got our goal. We're performing beautiful actions in the present. We've scheduled some rest, even some time for social media so we don't get distracted during the day. Beautiful schedule, thank you. We've designed the community, we've designed our friends, the interactions, but then something happens. And the mind gets agitated again. COVID. Factory burns down. Car is missing. Where do you break? And every one of us has some breaking point. So here's the exercise for our fourth point is, find out where is our mental happiness dependent. So if something happens, does your happiness go with it? So if a person was to get ill, if you were to get ill, would you still be peaceful or will you be agitated? How much? What is the price of your peace? What is the price of your happiness? How much do you sell it for? You could sell it for somebody hoots. Happiness gone. Wait, you've sold that. You sold your peace of mind for somebody hooting. One hoot, gone. Your partner frowning. Happiness gone. Children not doing well in school. Happiness flown away. You've sold it. Now what we want to do is start reclaiming it. Take back the remote control. Say, hey, no, hang on. You don't press the buttons on my happiness. I'm taking it back. And you decide what you want to place your happiness on. And the best way of doing this is to identify our attachments. The places that we place our happiness on. So for instance, if you are not a sports fan, if somebody says, South Africa did well yesterday, it doesn't make a difference to you. Why? You're not interested. You don't place your value there. But suppose you do place your value there. I'm an avid sports fan. Say, why is my blood pressure going up and down during a match? Is it possible to watch a match without getting so excited, so disappointed afterwards? And this is where you start thinking and start preparing. How can I prepare for the other side of life that I don't want? Because it'll happen at some time. And preparation for life's eventualities is what we're talking about. So, suppose now, I can see some of you writing notes, you leave your pen behind. And you go home and you realize, where's my pen? Will you come back for the pen? No, it's a big pen, it's okay. Suppose you leave and you left your wallet behind. Will you come back? Depends what's in the wallet. Suppose you leave your watch behind. Will you be agitated? I said, no, my mother-in-law gave me that watch, it's okay. So it depends on the value that you're placing. Suppose all of these are in place and you go outside, and this happened to us. I was driving a Toyota Corolla some years ago. I was on Milner Road. And those of you who know the area, it's a hill. So we went to visit some friends. We went inside. So my two brothers and myself were having dinner. And we wanted to show an album to the friends. And the album was in the car. So my second brother says, I'll go and get it. So he goes outside. And he's the one who's he's very stoic. So not very expressive. So he goes outside to get the album. He comes back inside. And he says, the car's not there. So we're like, what do you mean the car's not there? He's saying, it's gone. So we follow him. We didn't believe him. We all walked outside. And it always takes you by surprise when a solid seeming object taking up some space in the universe is not there. And the three of us and our friends, what is our reaction? All of us start looking down the road as if the car rolled. How agitated do you get? Does your happiness go with the car? Does your happiness go with maybe your house burns down? The loss of somebody that you love. Where do we break? There was a Zen saint. He said, when my house burned down, I got an unobstructed view of the stars. What a way of looking at life. You say, that's far, far away from us. Right now, if I forget that pen, I gave it to you. Why didn't you put it in the bag? Get so agitated. Reclaim it. Reduce the dependency. If you see this diagram, it shows us here, if we're at 100% intellectual development, we don't need the world for anything. But if we are at 50% development, we need the world 50%. If we're at 25% development, we need the world 75% to be right, for us just to be peaceful, to be happy. There's a saying, for him in vain the envious seasons roll, who bears eternal summer in his soul. If you are dependent on summer, you're miserable in winter. If you're dependent on winter, you're miserable in summer. What it's saying here, let your happiness be dependent on inside. So it doesn't matter what's going on outside, what level of load shedding it is, whether the water is working or not working, it will not disturb my peace of mind. But for that, we need to prepare. Every couple that marries must be prepared for parting, either through death or divorce or otherwise. Not that we look to part ways, but we should be prepared for it so we're not devastated. So one colleague, he got divorced. He was married for a few years. He got divorced. And it was a rough divorce. He suffered quite a bit. And he decided to get married again. But this time he had the philosophy. So he prepared himself. Maybe this will work, maybe this won't work. But I'm going to put in all my effort to make it work. If it doesn't, either by my fault or us not working together, I should be okay. And he was prepared to such an extent, and please don't follow this example. He would introduce his wife as, "This is Linda, my future ex-wife." And he would laugh at it. She was not very impressed. But that mindset, after dependency, the next quality is be rich. We get so much anxiety because we want to live at a particular level, we want a little bit more. But we don't realize it's like chasing a dog's tail. The dog, not you. The dog trying to chase its own tail can't catch it. Similarly with us, by chasing that little bit more, there's never a point where you say enough is enough. There's always something somebody else wants or you want. So the person without shoes says, "Please give me a pair of shoes." You give him a pair of shoes, he says, "Bicycle." Bicycle, motorbike. Motorbike, small car, Uno. Slightly bigger car, Toyota. Bigger car, Mercedes. Then someone to sit next to me. Then someone else to sit next to me. And this is how the mind keeps going. And you get to a point where you have so much. You have everything materially. And then you say, but the hair is going. Then you put hair on the person. Then you say, what? All the other billionaires, they have rockets going out of this world. I don't have my own rocket. This is the nature of the mind. So here's a formula we can use to be rich right now, to quell our unfitness, to quell our agitation. And it is this. A rich person is one whose wealth is more than what they desire. So a rich person equals wealth more than what they desire. When do you become poor? As soon as what you desire is more than what you have. And you say, hold on, what about growth? What about improving? What happens there? Why should they be connected? Grow, but be happy with what you have. And that's why gratitude has been a recommendation for so many people. Because when you are grateful, you look at what you have and you say, this is great. I'm saying, let's have that as our status quo. I'm grateful. You know what? I could have less. It could be a lot worse. I have my family. I have my health. Business is not going too well. I'm okay. But as the wealth increases, as you grow, you remain peaceful. And when the wealth increases, you can increase your desires. Change your car, change your home, change your phone, whatever. But you're never doing it from feeling dissatisfied with life. But if you are dissatisfied and you think, when I get that, I'll be happy, you'll never be happy. Why? Because when you get there, if you get there, you will say, I want something else. Let's go to Joburg. And then you go to Joburg and they say, let's emigrate to Cape Town. And then you go to Cape Town and they say, let's go to the Netherlands. Where does it stop? In the end, they come back to South Africa. This is the mind. It always wants more. The last two aspects. Here we talk about relationships. And one simple line I'm going to give for relationships. Because relationships really is one of the main causes of our distress and agitation. Simple line. A will be A. Period. B will be B. C will be C. Brian will be Brian. Santuri will be Santuri. Sister-in-law will be sister-in-law. The problem comes when you want A to be B, C to be D, and we do this to our children. Why can't you be more like the second child? And tell the third child, look at your brother. Look what he's done. Why can't you be like the first child? Simple explanation, because C will be C, A will be A. Period. All the frustration, all the disappointment is because we don't see and accept people as they are, because that's what they're going to be anyway, right? We want to change that. How difficult it is to change yourself. Try losing a kg. So difficult even to change ourselves physically, and we want to change somebody else's mind? Impossible. The only way perhaps we can have a dent or an influence is by setting the example. And if it's attractive, maybe they might ask you, hey, what are you on? What are you taking? What vitamin? Then you tell them, vitamin V, vitamin Vedanta. And all you've done is, you've seen them as they are. If we see people as they are, not as we would like them to be. So the mind says, but I would like you to be like this. Darling, I just want what's best for you. See the child as they are. Now, we always want the child to be something different. You're good, you're very good. Your marks are very good, but Afrikaans could be a little bit better. See people as they are, not as you would like them to be. All our grumbling, all our complaining boils down to this. Why is a lily not an oak? A lily will be a lily. Oak will be a oak. Durban will be Durban. Johannesburg will be Johannesburg. Cape Town will be Cape Town. But if you expect and go to Canada expecting Durban to be in Canada, whose fault is it? You've got to adapt. See things as they are, there's no problem. What causes the problem? When we want something to be different from what they are. So we've already planned a trip to South America. And some of my colleagues, they came up to me and said, Sudhakar, we would recommend you don't go to South America. Do you know it's one of the most dangerous places in the world? So then I didn't dismiss what they were saying. I said, let me think about it. So I did some research and I Googled, what are the 10 most dangerous cities in the world? You know, seeing if Sao Paulo is there or Montevideo, I was looking at it. And then I'm going through the list. 3 out of the top 5 are in South Africa. Durban, Pretoria, Johannesburg. 11, Cape Town. I said, I'm okay. Genuinely, I was surprised. Why is South Africa in that list? Durban in the list. And it's because we've accepted it and we've understood it and we've adjusted our lifestyles to make sure that we're least affected by the crime. So in terms of security, in terms of how we drive, we try not to stop at a signal, we slow down. We've made the adjustments, so we don't really see how dangerous it is. I'm saying, why don't we do that in our relationships? How much stress we can bring down. The last part for today is the last key. And you might say it's the most difficult. Early mornings. Wake up early in the morning. What a change, what a difference. When you say early, how early? Today was early. No. I would recommend, we wake up at 4 a.m. I would recommend, but we have a nap in the afternoon. I'd recommend 5 a.m. or as early as possible. 5 a.m. And what do you do at 5 a.m.? Don't put the TV on. Don't go for a run, although that's not a bad idea. Use it for being better at life, for getting mentally fit. You go to the gym for the body. What are we doing for our mind and intellect to make it stronger? We need mental, intellectual fitness. How do we do that? We've got to build the intellect. So use that first half an hour in the morning, 5 to 5:30, 5:30 to 6, 6 to 6:30, thereafter, whatever time. First part of your day. Use it to build yourself. Learn about something. So here we've had quite a few tools that we've covered. This lecture is not going to make a difference. It's not going to change you because thought takes time. But if you are consistent, you can decide what you're going to be. James Allen, he says, you are today. Depends on you. If you're happy with where you are, fine. You are today where your thoughts have brought you. You will be tomorrow where your thoughts take you. James Allen. So what thinking are you putting in today to determine what life's going to be in the future? And the only thing I'm suggesting is half an hour reflection time on life. Now you might say, where do I start? How do I get into this intellectual discipline and training? You can decide your course, your curriculum, but something that has worked for us for the last 20 years, I would say the Vedanta curriculum. It's written in English, it's simple, and it takes you stage from stage. You say, I have no background in the subject. Do you know English? Yes. Do you want to be better? Yes. You qualify. And go book by book, slowly. There's no race, it's just life. And all we're saying is read maybe 2 or 3 pages, think about it, that's it. Put the book down, that's it. The first book is The Fall of the Human Intellect. That gives how the human personality works, the mind, the intellect, the ego. The second book is the application of the intellect in work and at home. So very directly applicable. So for stress management, leadership, values, and ethics. So the first book is actually being taught in schools and universities to give this head start about how to maximize our thinking. The second one, a lot of companies, including South Africa, are using it as onboarding. Before somebody joins, they have to go through the book. And the last book is for those of you who are looking for the purpose of life, is where we started asking the bigger questions. Not just to be mentally fit, but what is the purpose of this existence? What happens if I go next week? What would I have accomplished? That book took 25 years to write. They're all by my teacher, Swami Parthasarathy. He's 97 years old. And what he has done is, in 70 years of this subject, he's taken the world's wisdom and given it a structured curriculum. Now, if you want to work on yourself, you'll pick a random YouTube lecture, somebody recommended a book, you pick up the book, but you don't have the same language, so you can't go deep. Here, you have a syllabus, you have a structure. So we managed to bring the books from India this time. These books are available at the back, so you can decide if you want to do this, or if you want to get a head start, momentum-wise, we have 2 events coming up. You can visit us in India. So outside Mumbai, we have a 30-acre campus, early nights, early mornings. If you're expecting to lose weight there, wrong place. The food is very good. It's called the Vedanta Academy Experience. You can join us in mid-Jan for 5 days with students from around the world, or you can visit any time during the year, but this is when it's customized for the group. The next is the youth camp for teenagers, and the youth camp is when we have kids coming from around the world. If we could put it up. Yeah, so we have the youth camp just before Christmas, so 5 days where teenagers can get these values, these thinking ideas. So all of it's available on our website. We'll take it from there. But the idea of today is, let us prioritize mental fitness. Let us prioritize reducing our agitation, increasing our happiness. But it requires effort, it requires investment, but not as much investment as we think. A little bit of time, a little bit of application. Let's develop our intellect. You change from the inside, everything else follows. Thank you, everyone. We're going to show you a 2-minute video on the academy that I'm from, so you can get an idea of the place, and then we'll take up the questions.
Nestled in the serene hills of Malavli, India, 108 kilometers from Mumbai, lies a campus which draws seekers of self-development. Founded in 1988 by world-renowned philosopher Swami A. Parthasarathy, the Vedanta Academy is created to develop the whole personality of young individuals through a 3-year residential course. The course curriculum is based on Swami A. Parthasarathy's 65 years of scientific research and writing on Vedanta, India's timeless philosophy on life and living. The program enables you to strengthen your intellect and gain clarity of thinking. With reflection and focused discussions, you find answers to all of life's questions. The intellectual development is accompanied with devotional practices to elevate your mind's emotions. The campus provides you with facilities to discipline your body through yoga, various sporting activities, jogging, and gym. There are also opportunities to engage in service for a higher cause in various areas of your interests. A carefully designed daily schedule nurtures spiritual growth and is supported by the company of like-minded seekers from diverse backgrounds. You can also experience the Vedanta Academy through shorter visits, corporate leadership programs, and customized retreats such as the Vedanta International Retreat for Adults and Life Decoded Youth Retreat. Learn techniques to improve yourself and your relationship with the present-day world and gain a taste of simple living and higher thinking. The Vedanta Academy is a place to find the ultimate purpose of life and uplift your personality to command success and peace.
We'll take up questions. The first question is, how to prepare for future events besides accepting their potential to occur?
Do we know the questioner?
I think it's Vishen.
Okay. Vishen, are you okay to put up your hand? Okay. So, how do we prepare? So, actually to project and walk through the situation. So, in the event of this happening, what would I do? How would I react? So you actually visualize the situation. This has happened. What would I do? So for instance, take something small. If my tire is punctured, you have maybe protocol. I would call AA, I have the number, I know what I have on speed dial. You've prepared for it. So it's not that stressful when it happens. Why do we take out car insurance? Are you being negative? Are you being negative by taking out car insurance? You're saying, no, in the idea or the possibility that it may happen, at least I'll be okay. So if I was to meet in an accident, I'll be okay, right? You don't feel it as much. Why don't we do that for life? In the case of heartbreak, how will I not be broken? Where is the basic life insurance? Are we prepared for illness? Are we prepared for children? There is no preparation or thinking, how am I going to handle the situation? Even for those who have children, how will I be when the children leave and go and study? That is something to prepare for. So the advice is, run it through. See what your reaction is now and what you need to do to be okay. Because you'll be surprised. It is not being negative. It's preparing so that you don't suffer later if it happens. And once you prepared, the anxiety, the stress goes. And then what do? Work for the best. Then you work for your best life, but you prepared for all eventualities. I was prepared for death of each other. So in terms of our wills, our succession, everything's taken care of. Prepared for illness, prepared for cancer. And then something happened with some colleagues of ours where the one colleague had cancer and the wife was taking care of them. And then during the treatment, the partner contracted cancer as well. So imagine they're taking care of each other with cancer. And I was not prepared for that. And I was saying, if that was to happen to us, I would not be ready for it. I would be devastated. So I thought through it, and I think now we'll be okay. We've developed other support structures, but also mentally we'll be okay. So the idea is run it through, be prepared. And it's difficult to think about. I don't know why we don't like to talk about death. Death is a part of life. We only celebrate birthdays. Death days, there was one person in Switzerland who decided, for my funeral, I want carnival. And he chose the playlist, he chose the dances, and imagine they're carrying the coffin and carnival is going on behind him. So I want people to celebrate my life. What a way of thinking. But the idea is, yes, we have to think about it. In the event this happens, are the people around me okay? In the event something happens to them, will I be okay? Prepare for it and then live. So a pessimist is one who thinks about all the negative things that could happen. A philosopher who prepares for eventualities. That's the difference. And then works for the best. Okay, next question.
The questioner is Ramani. The question is, what is the difference between intelligence and intellect?
Excellent. So intelligence is information from outside sources. So that we can get from ChatGPT, we can get from Google, but intellect is when we are able to apply it. So if you give me a lecture on nutrition, that's intelligence. I can get that from the internet. But when you live a nutritious life, that is your intellect managing your mind. You live it. That's the difference. So you can have so much of knowledge and information and not apply it. And that's what's happening in the world today. We have an overload of intelligence. We give it too much importance, but we don't have enough people to interpret it, analyze it, and use it for the benefit of humanity, for the benefit of our own lives. We know this doctor, he's a cardiologist. He's telling all his patients the usual: reduce your stress, cut down on your drinking, your smoking. This cardiologist, chain smoker. Does he know what's happening inside him? Of course he does. He's written journals on it. But he doesn't have the intellect to control the mind's desire for smoking. So, in our education system today, maybe we get intelligence. But what we really want to achieve is develop the intellect. Good question.
The questioner is Krista. The question is, how do you discover your dharma, nature, and linked to that, how do you uncover your purpose, so that when your nature and purpose are aligned, happiness is the result?
Beautiful. So when your nature and your purpose aligns, you find this wind in your sails. Things just start falling into place. Things become easy. You get support from unexpected quarters. But how do you find that? The first is through self-analysis. And that's where we must use the intellect to analyze and take the data from childhood. What have I been inclined from childhood? You find certain children, they take things apart, they put it back together. This engineering. You find some people, they're business oriented from the time they're children. They'll start selling muffins or cakes or samosas in the school, and then they will also charge the father for when he asks for a samosa. He's providing the transport, mother is doing the frying. Charges the mother and father also. Business nature. That nature is there. So what we need to do is we need to analyze what subjects did I enjoy in school? What were my interests, my hobbies? When I had time to relax, what would I choose to do? What books did I pick up? So when I had my own choice, what did I choose? What was I inclined towards? And you can take the advice of friends, parents, maybe not parents. Parents sometimes have agenda. Someone needs to take over the factory, someone needs to take over the practice. So you got to think afresh. And I'd say one of the factors is when you're making this decision, take finance temporarily out of the picture. So if everything was taken care of, what would I choose to do? Then you put all the factors back in. Kids, mortgage, finance, and then say, okay, now how do I get there? How do I work towards that? Because if you're working towards retirement, that's not a goal. That's postponing. We've got to work towards finding, as she said, this alignment. What is my purpose? What do I want to do? And your purpose has got to be in line with your capacity. So don't overpitch, pitch it within your capacity. So it could be maybe just your building. You stay in an apartment building, let me look after the residents of that building. Let me look after my team, the 10 people that I work with. My kids' school. Whatever's your circle, whatever's your capacity, see how much you can stretch. So I hope that helps, but it's through analysis. Also, when you're analyzing, think about what is definitely not your nature. You could say, I'm not a desk person, I'm not a people person. You decide. So you circle the ones that come up constantly. So do the analysis maybe 1 week apart, 3 times. Circle the common factors on the Swadharma side. Circle the common factors on the Paradharma side. And then choose a field that caters as much to your Swadharma side as possible. For those of you who already have jobs, businesses, look for the areas which is more on the Swadharma side. See if you can delegate or reallocate the parts that are not aligned to you and may be aligned to someone else.
We'll take up the last question. The question is, in life, we tend to use a crutch like coffee, alcohol, or smoking, for instance. What are your thoughts on using a crutch to cope in life with the stress that we have sometimes? Additionally, how does one quell one's desires?
If you're using a crutch when you can walk, why? It's a burden. You don't need it. You say, I can walk. Why am I using the crutch? You find some people, you're absolutely healthy, but because you have to go for a procedure in hospital, it could be some stitch that they have to remove. They say, no, you have to sit in the wheelchair. I say, look, I can walk. I can walk to the theater. No, you must sit in the wheelchair. It is a burden to have a crutch when you are healthy. So, to answer the question, you use a crutch when you need the crutch. But don't get comfortable with the crutch. Then you're increasing the dependency on that. So rather try to troubleshoot, problem solve, and deal with what is it that I need to fix. Because the crutch is temporary, and we're making that temporary into something permanent. So if you need the drink to relax, sometimes it even helps, muscle relaxation. If you need the drink to relax, okay, have it. But why are you tense in the first place? Solve it from root cause. Why am I stressed when I go to work? Why do I need to let off steam and need that vent? Let me handle the problem itself. And that's where we can start using the intellect, and instead of distraction and crutch, let us solve from the root. What is the problem in the way I'm meeting this particular situation, this particular person? You find some people, I'm going to family event today, they have a drink before they go. So wait, hang on, what do I find stressful about the situation? How can I make it humorous? How can I make it entertaining for myself? Relook at it, solve, deal with, so you don't need the crutch. What is the ability of a human being? Is to be happy, to be free without depending on anything outside of yourself. If you need it, no problem, but let us work so that we don't need it. Even in relationships, it should be, If two people are dependent on each other, misery. We make the other person dependent. We think or we blame the other person for our happiness. But we get into a relationship because we do need another person. But when we're in that relationship, let us work towards being independent. Does that mean you don't care for the other person? No. It means when you are apart, you don't suffer. When you are together, you don't argue and fight, you enjoy each other. So when you are together, you're better. When you're apart, no problem. What a relationship. You're not dependent on it, but together, better. And this is what we want to do. Enjoy the drink, but you should not be dependent on it. It should not be the drink calling your mind. Hey, long time. Come. Bottom line, friends, before we part ways is, for mental fitness, the only investment is a little bit of time in the morning to gather our thoughts, give them direction, ask the questions that matter, activate the intellect. And you might say, I'm too busy, I got no time. So I'm going to finish with a story. It's about two woodcutters, Alex and Bob. And Alex and Bob, they started their woodcutting career at the same time. And first day, they cut 10 trees. But from the second day onwards, Alex would come to work a little bit later, and Bob would go the normal time. But what started happening? Alex would come 1 hour later, Bob would start working even longer, but Bob's number of trees started decreasing. His output started getting less and less and less. So he started working harder, he started pushing the time. Alex, same routine. Come 1 hour later, leave, and his output started increasing. Finally, Bob was exasperated. He went to Alex and he said, hey, man, tell me your secret. I'm working longer than you, I'm working more than you. How is it you are more productive than me? He said, you really want to know? He said, yes, tell me your secret. He said, first thing I do in the morning, I sharpen my axe. To which Bob replied, I got no time to sharpen my axe, I'm too busy cutting trees. This is the argument here. I got no time to wake up half an hour earlier in the morning and invest in life. Why? I'm too busy living. Invest on the inside, because from the inside comes the outside. Thank you for spending time with us. If you'd like to stay in touch, you've got the 7 keys to follow. Thank you for that summary, Avanya. And you've got our details here. So we have some lectures available online. So that's a nice introductory course. And we have all the details of the retreats and future events available on our website. And you can follow our adventures and some wisdom doses on Instagram at Vedantins. Have a look at the books, see which one appeals to you. This time we brought all the books. So for those of you who have the first 3 books, you can take a look at what's in store in the future. Have a good day. All the best.